Hi everyone, today we are talking about recruiting and retaining really amazing team members. How do you do it? So whether or not you're an entrepreneur, you're a manager, you're a professional, this whole topic around retention, really attracting and retaining top talent is a big topic. So we're going to be unpacking that. I'm going to be teaching you three very practical, what I call the 3 C's of retention. So my name is Dr. Karen, if we haven't met. I am the co-founder and CEO of a global leadership coaching company. We work with all types of organizations across all sectors on teaching leadership emotional intelligence to every level of leader. And so whether or not somebody's an emerging leader, a manager, a senior leader, we love to teach leadership skills to really help you in 3 areas. Grow your business, strengthen your relationships, as well as really strengthen also your well-being. And so those are the 3 buckets that we love to really focus in on. So this topic, obviously around retention and attracting and retaining, really falls more under the business bucket, but also the relationship bucket actually as well, because we know that if we don't do a great job in this area, it will impact our business. So let me just share with you some interesting stats on this. I thought I love data, I love science. If you followed me before, you'll know that. So a couple things I want to kind of highlight. So this is the first one. 84%, I'm reading it from my screen right now, 84% of small businesses report challenging, having a difficulty with staffing new employees. 84%, everybody, 84%. 46% report difficulty retaining their staff. So this is a major issue. You think about the amount of time and energy is wasted if we don't get the right people in the right role within our organization. So we really want to figure out the art and the science to this. So in another video, I will talk more about actually how do you attract top talent. For this one, let's really focus on how do you actually retain your top talent. And so for that, I'm going to be reciting a little bit from my book, The 3 Chairs. I'm reading from page 110. It's like a little bit of a book club, everybody, a little bit of a book club. And these are things that we have seen. We coach different managers, leaders. So these are very practical ways with what you can do. So 3 C's of retention. The first C is communication. So one of the things in terms of when you think about, look at your team. Okay, so regardless with what position or role you are in, I don't care. What I care about is the dynamics. One of the things that we try to do when we're working and coaching organizations and their teams is we want to create a healthy system. That's with our objective. We want to create a really healthy system within your organization. So one of the things to keep it really healthy is you have to look at the communication. Communication is a really, really big word. I was just speaking at a conference yesterday, and I was asking some of the senior leaders, what are some of the pain points you have, and communication came up. The challenge is that communication, there's like hundreds of different types of communication. And so the piece that I'm going to be focusing in on, it's actually feedback. That's one of the best ways in terms of actually retaining your top talent. So again, I talk about this in the book. This comes out of Gallup. 98% of employees will be disengaged if their managers give little to no feedback. So if you know my story, you know that I started this work over 25 years ago. I started working with teenagers, millennials, and family systems. Millennials grew up, they entered the workforce, and 20 years ago, I started getting asked from companies to actually help their senior leadership team really manage the multi-generational workforce. That's kind of with where I started, and then our companies continue to grow. But what was interesting is when I actually started working with companies 20 years ago, there was a bit of a secret sauce. Why are some managers having an amazing time with their team? And they're really engaged and retention is great. Now their managers are really struggling. What I figured out pretty quickly is that those managers that were crushing it in a great way, they have what's called emotional intelligence. And so there's emotional intelligence that looks at a lot of different pieces, but one of the areas it looks at is communication. And specifically when we look at emotional intelligence, communication, and now let's actually drill it down even a little bit more around multi-generations, the younger generations, so your millennials, your Gen Y, your Gen Zs, all of those younger generations really care about feedback. And so this was a really big issue that I found when I was doing a lot of coaching with teams, is that too often a lot of managers, what were they doing? They were relying on their biannual performance reviews. Let's be honest about performance reviews. They are super awkward. Managers are awkward to give it. People are awkward to receive it. The whole thing is really awkward. It's way too late. So by the time you're actually getting any feedback, it's, you can't even course correct it. So they're completely ineffective. And I am very adamant about this. Obviously, some companies, bigger companies, they want to have those performance reviews, which are fine. But here is my golden rule with it, is that anything that is in that performance review, you have already talked about it ahead of time. So there's nothing that is surprising for that person. And it's more of a very practical way to document in terms of that feedback. But from a perspective around how do you actually move the needle, how do you progress your team, how do you develop your people, performance reviews are not the way. I will tell you that consistently. And they certainly are not going to help you with retention. What you want, if your goal as a professional, a manager, an entrepreneur, business owner, if your goal is to retain your top talent, especially the younger generations, they care about regular, ongoing feedback. This is not micromanaging. This is not coddling. This is not babysitting. These are all words that I hear. This is actually really great managing and really great leadership, because when you give ongoing feedback that is done in a relational way, not in a document, you're building a relationship with your team member. And when the framework is around, I want to develop you, I want to grow you, I want to build you, I want to really help you achieve your career goals. These parts you're doing amazing. These parts you actually really need to work on, and you're getting very constructive, regular feedback that's built into a relationship. Wow, you are really going to move the needle now in terms of engagement. All right, so that is really important. So just start paying attention to what are you doing in terms of regular feedback. If you like this topic, make sure you subscribe, obviously, to a YouTube channel. And I strongly recommend you actually get our leadership scorecard or leadership EQ scorecard that unpacks the different muscles, emotional muscles that actually you need to be a great leader. So if you have not received that yet, put down in the comments below EQ, and somebody from my team will actually send out a free scorecard for you. And you're going to see how communication is one of the 5 core competencies of being a great leader, regardless of your position. Okay, so that's the first thing, is you want to really look at your communication. Okay, number 2 is you want to look at actually culture. And what's really interesting is culture is so powerful. Culture is the energy within your organization. Some organizations have a very flat culture, and some have a very vibrant culture. And when you have a really vibrant, energized culture, you are going to not only retain your top talent, but you are also going to drive people. You're going to attract your top talent. So what do I talk about with culture? There's a number of things I talk about in the book, but interesting, just a couple like interesting stats. Again, and now I'm reading on page 111. This one comes out of Gallup. Managers account for 70% of employee engagement. So you want to really think about, what are you doing to train your managers? What are you doing to train your managers? That is a really big piece. And the problem, as we know this, is a lot of managers, they have been promoted because they've got the technical skill, but they have not been trained. They have not been developed. And so it's really important. And actually, Harvard Business Review said 50 to 60% of executives fail in the first 18 months of being promoted or hired. Crazy. Okay, so a lot of times we're putting people into positions or roles, but we're not developing them, we're not training them, and then all of a sudden what's going to happen is that they fail. We don't want that. So and when you think about culture, there's a number of things that I look at when we work with organizations, but one of the things we look at is, and this ties into a little bit with the third C, but is in terms of really making sure that mentoring is part of your culture. Training is part of your culture. What are you doing in terms of actually celebrating the wins as part of your culture? What do you do to celebrate as a team, celebrating as a company? And so you want to really think about how would you define your culture? And a good way of actually thinking about it when we teach this is, if your employees are at a party on a Friday night with a bunch of their friends and they're describing their company, what would be the three words that they would actually describe your company? That's the culture. That's the culture. Is it positive, energizing, supportive, or is it draining, critical, negative? Like, what would be the 3 words that your team members would define their workplace? That's really the culture. And if you don't have a vibrant culture, then you want to be doing some interviews with your people and be asking, what could we do to really enhance our culture? What are we missing? Is it celebratory events? Is it team meetings? Is it volunteering together? There's a number of different ways. I talk about it in the book. There's lots of different ways that you can actually enhance culture, but that's the second C you want to really look at, is really at looking at your culture and really ramping up your culture. The third one, everybody, the third one is the third C. So we talked about communication. We talked about culture. Both of these are kind of under that umbrella, what I call emotional intelligence. So again, if you don't have our scorecard, just write down EQ below and somebody from our team will send that to you. It's, by the way, that scorecard I forgot to mention is a fantastic tool when you're actually looking at hiring actually as well. So it's, again, free tool. Okay, the third C, everybody, is you want to look at challenging. So especially younger generations, the Gen Y, the Gen Z, the millennials, a lot of them really care about being challenged. They love to be challenged. And so they're going to care what mentoring opportunities, what learning and development opportunities, what their career pathway is. One of the team members that we were coaching, it was interesting. I was talking to him and I was just asking him, like, how is he enjoying his workplace? What is he like? What is he doesn't like? And he goes, Karen, he goes, I'm getting bored. And he literally said, he was about 28, 29 years old. He goes, I'm getting bored. And when I get bored, I disengage. It was like literally in his own words. And he said, he goes, I've been asking my manager for more work, but my manager is worried that he's going to overwork me. He goes, but I actually like to be really busy. And this is the thing, certainly in the multi-generations. And I've got other videos, by the way, if you want to understand the multi-generations, that's kind of like one of our areas of specialty. I love teaching it. I've got other videos on our YouTube channel about it. But one of the things with the multi-generations is that those younger generations, they really want to know what their career pathway is. They like challenges, they like growth, and that actually helps engage them. That actually helps retain them. And so sometimes older generations, they're like, oh, I don't want to give them too much work. But a lot of them, the younger ones, they actually quite like it. So again, every team member is different. You've got to get to know your people. You really need to get to know your people. And so again, this is just high level in terms of with what we have found extremely effective, the art and the science around retention. So communication, what I call the 3 C's, communication, culture, and challenge. Those are the 3 C's, as just a good first step to kind of look at how are we doing in terms of this. So hope you found helpful. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've got a topic you would like me to cover, make sure you let me know in the comment below. That's how we gather all these topics. And make sure you check out the other videos that we actually have as well. We've got lots and lots of videos that tackle different topics that are related to growing your business, developing your relationship, and really strengthening your well-being. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you on one of our other videos.